it's Disney Girl back for another Disney's Magic Kingdoms game prediction video. So today I'm going to be doing my predictions for Lady and the Tramp. So this is a collection that I do believe could come in 2019 because we do have the live action coming in November, which I will be talking about in just a couple of minutes. So I think this would be a rough idea of what the stained glass could look like. I mean, there are definitely a whole bunch of different variations for the stained glass, but this is one I think that would be pretty cute, especially including some dog bones sort of around it. Now, this is a collection that I do think would be added as permanent content and not a limited time event. Now, if they were to add it as a limited time event, I do think that they would add it in October, just because the movie is coming out in November, so I think they would want to kind of extend it sort of going through October, maybe into November, sort of when the actual movie is released, which is on November 12th. So I do think that it is possible that we could be having that as an event in October if they wanted to include 7 characters. Now, if they don't, then we're looking at maybe 3 or 4 characters. So I'm showing you guys on the screen some of the more recent events and stuff we've had in Disney Magic Kingdoms game in terms of characters and stuff, and sort of what the screen would look like in terms of collections and stuff like that, and sort of how it would be displayed. So for the most part though, I am going to be predicting it as permanent content because I do believe that there are 4 characters that could be added into the kingdom, which means that they will not be included in legendary chests if it is permanent content. But if it is a limited time event, then later on it will be included in legendary chests and they will have their very own. So if it is a collection like Zootopia has a collection of 4 characters. So they have Judy Hopps, Nick Wilde, Chief Bogo, and Flash. Now, they could go maybe with 3, and then that would be like maybe something like the Bambi collection, which would include Thumper, Bambi, and Flower. Now, if they wanted to expand it even farther than that, then they could have 5 characters like the Jungle Book had, which was Baloo, Bagheera, Mowgli, King Louie, and obviously Shere Khan. Now, I do think that they had this one, maybe the Jungle Book, as a bigger collection just because it was one of those collections that did sort of unlock one of the vortexes in the actual kingdom, so it did have its own sort of battle. So that's why I don't think it would include 5 characters, but I think it would include 4 more like Zootopia. So we will be talking about the characters and stuff like that I do think would be added if it was permanent content, and yeah, it is going to be 4 characters. So as I said, the live action movie is coming out in November, on November 12th. It is going to be featured on Disney Plus. So this is basically going to become the Disney Netflix for a lot of us. If we're kind of huge Disney fans, pretty much this is going to be where we're going to want to go for everything, for Marvel now, Star Wars, all of our classic favorites from Disney. They are all supposed to be appearing on Disney Plus in November, and actually Lady and the Tramp is going to be the big sort of movie release that is going to be actually only available on Disney Plus on November 12th. So it is going to be really cool that this is going to be the very first time the movie isn't going to be released in theaters, but just actually on Disney Plus. This is kind of a bit of a first for Disney. Now, I know that they've done some like short films and stuff for like Frozen and things like that, but those are more short films. That's a little bit different, and those were featured on Netflix in the past. I do assume that's going to kind of switch over obviously to Disney Plus over time. I figure Netflix probably won't include many Disney films, if any, and it will kind of be more Disney Plus where things are gonna kind of be going from now on. So it will be interesting to see sort of the direction of Disney Plus in the future. But Lady and the Tramp is kicking off this new sort of platform and stuff for Disney. So I think we'll be seeing a lot more films in the future sort of being featured and actually released on Disney Plus. So the movie, since it is coming out on November 12th, this is kind of a big deal in some ways for a lot of us because this is going to be the only way we're going to be able to actually see it. As far as we know, it's not going to be available on iTunes or anything at the moment. It may be one of those films later on that it will be available to sort of purchase that way, but at least at this point, it is only going to be available on Disney Plus. So yeah, it's kind of a bit of an incentive for a lot of us to go over and actually maybe even kind of ditch Netflix and maybe go over to Disney Plus. So it will be kind of interesting to see what a lot of us obviously do. Maybe some of us will keep both, obviously. Now, I think the only thing that might kind of keep us with keeping both, I think, at the moment is because a lot of us Disney fans do love Once Upon a Time, which is a TV series that actually is on Netflix right now. So it is one of those things that we do really, really love, especially me. I do love, Regina being the evil queen, and it's just, I love that whole sort of side theory of bringing all of these Disney characters to life and giving them an additional story sort of besides the one that we actually see. And I feel like it really kind of shows us the best possible actual characters sort of featured that way, so we really do see them kind of come to life as is. There's really nothing in that series that you look and you go, oh, that person or that character does not look like the original film. Like, there are a lot of them that really match up perfectly, so it's actually quite cool to actually see that sort of in real life, which I think is something that Disney is kind of leaving in terms of their actual films. They are really changing the appearance of characters and sort of the storylines and stuff. So I did feel like Once Upon a Time really did sort of change our view and stuff like that into really kind of like giving us the original stuff. And I think that's why someone like me that loves the classics was really drawn to that sort of series. But it is unknown at this point whether that series will eventually move over to Disney Plus or not. But anyways, that is enough about Disney Plus. But again, it does kind of get our wheel sort of spinning in terms of what Disney is going to do. I hope they do eventually sort of feature that collection, because it does include a lot of Disney films. Now, it doesn't include Lady and the Tramp, which does make this particular collection very unique. So let's go into the possible characters for permanent content for Lady and the Tramp. So the first character I do think they will add is the Tramp. We totally need Lady and the Tramp. So I think the Tramp is a very, very obvious character to start out with. Now, I do sort of feel like in terms of the storyline, dialogue and stuff, that he will maybe kind of still be a street dog and then be moving into more of a house dog again. So I do think he will not include a collar. I mean, it is possible he will, but I think maybe at this point it would be kind of neat if they sort of just left it with the original and left him without a collar. Now, Lady obviously needs to have her collar. She did get hers quite early on in the film. That was definitely one thing that Jim Deere and Darling made sure that she had when she was 6 months old. So I think that she will definitely include one, but it's possible that the Tramp will not. Now, the Tramp eventually does get a collar at the end of the film, so I don't know whether they'll include it, but I feel like they'll more sort of stick to him still having some quests as being more of a street dog. Then after that, I think we've kind of got our two kind of characters in there that, again, they don't have to include, but at the same time, this collection can't just include Lady and the Tramp. So I do feel like Trusty will end up showing up in this collection. Now, Trusty is one of those dogs that apparently may have lost his smell, or at least that's how it does appear throughout most of the movie, or at least that's what Jock says. So I do think that we'll see a lot of quests of him maybe sniffing around and stuff like that. So I do see maybe a lot of similarities and even an appearance between Trusty and maybe even Bruno. So Bruno is part of the Cinderella collection. He's not in the kingdom yet, but I definitely can see some quests in terms of sniffing around, and these two maybe this could be a good kind of way for Trusty to sort of say, oh, I think I scented maybe some other dog or whatever that, kind of could be maybe the same type of breed as he is. So I feel like it could open the door to an expansion in the Cinderella collection, which would be a lot of fun, obviously, because we have wanted Bruno and Jock and and Gus Gus. So there are a lot of characters with that collection. So I do feel like Trusty is kind of the character that could kind of open that door. Now, Jacques is another one. Now, Jacques, I don't think will get his adorable little coat, but it is possible because at the very start of the film, it is Christmas time. So that's kind of unique about the possible permanent content coming in November, is that we could see more of the storyline going towards the end of the movie, and where Jacques might get a coat. He may not, but I thought the image with the coat was extremely cute. I don't think there'll be anybody in this collection that will get a costume, at least at this point, but I think it might be something that they could include later, at least for him. It is totally adorable, so I do think it would be fun, especially if the kingdom does kind of get its snowy appearance in November, December, especially with Frozen coming right after that. Would be kind of fun, obviously with the dialogue with him and stuff like that, maybe talking about the snow and whatnot. So I do think this will be permanent content. Now, I don't think it's going to be something that's going to come maybe after Dumbo in terms of our storyline collection and stuff like that. I think it will be something that people will be able to sort of unlock, maybe I would say, I guess, after maybe they defeat Zurg from Toy Story. So once you kind of unlock It's a Small World sort of land and stuff like that, you'll unlock like Flynn Rider and Aurora and Rapunzel, like all kinds of characters from those collections, Minnie Mouse even. So I do feel like this collection might be one of those collections that might be after that. I don't think it will be something that will be included after Dumbo's, because I kind of already have my idea in my mind for after Dumbo. I feel like they would add Pinocchio, because I think Pinocchio would be a great one after Dumbo to have as permanent content, but that's just obviously my opinion and sort of what I'm thinking. But at least at this point, I don't think they would want to make it too difficult, obviously, to collect these amazing characters, because Pinocchio doesn't have a live action scheduled or anything. So if they did include it in 2020 or something like that, I think it would be one of those ones that, again, could kind of come maybe after Dumbo. Now, there are a couple of collections that could, but I think the game has kind of left it some time for us to kind of get to that point. So there are the 4 characters that I do think are kind of guaranteed if we have it as permanent content. Now, there obviously are some other ones if it does become a limited time event. I do think that we might see maybe some other characters, like we could see Jim Deere and Darling. Now, Darling is the woman, and her actual name is Elizabeth Darling. So I do think we could see Jim Deere and Elizabeth Darling if it is a limited time event. So that would put us to 6 characters, which would leave us 1 more after that. So if that was the case, I would say that they might add Peggy into that. And I know some people might go, oh, well, what about the Siamese cats? I think the Siamese cats would be a great one either for the parade float or as just a concession stand. They really don't have a big enough role in the actual movie to kind of get anything more than that. So the Siamese cats, I do think, would make an amazing concession stand either for permanent content or for limited time event, so that would be pretty cool. The other one is Aunt Sarah. So the thing is if they were to add the Siamese cats, and just so you guys know, the Siamese cats, there's one named C and one named Am, and so I do think that if they were going to add it, if this was a limited time event, those would be great. C and Am and Aunt Sarah would be great to add maybe as a tower challenge in the future. But again, this collection, in my opinion, is worthy more of permanent content than a limited time event. But again, that's totally my opinion on things. So if it was a limited time event, I'm thinking Jim Deere, Trusty, Tramp, Peggy, Elizabeth Darling, Jacques, and Lady. So those would be my 7 characters that I would choose. And then, as I said, C, Am, and Aunt Sarah being the Tower Challenge. So in terms of attractions, now, there has been a lot of changes with the kingdom. So if it was permanent content, I think the biggest one that I would have to say that they would add, and I know with Dumbo they only added 1 attraction, would have to be Tony's Restaurant. So Tony's Restaurant is actually in a couple of Disney parks. So I know it's in Disney Paris, for example, and that has a very, very unique sort of appearance to it and everything, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I've never been to Disney Paris, but I would totally love to, and that's called Pizzeria Bellanotte. So I do think it would be amazing to sort of have that in the kingdom. Now, in terms of other Disney parks and appearances and stuff, they do have Tony's Restaurant, and that's in the town square. So I do think that it's pretty unique, sort of having, all of these sort of, they're actual restaurants in the actual Disney parks, sort of, I guess in all locations as far as I know. I did notice for sure it's in Disney Paris, and I do believe it is in Disney World. So again, I think it's in Disneyland as well, but I tried typing it in and I just can't find anything that says like, oh yes, Disneyland has Tony's Restaurant. Like there was no direct answer. So I'm gonna say it's in all three parks, but if I'm incorrect on this, you can let me know in the comments below. I have Googled it, I've looked, and there's just nothing that's super obvious and clear, but I did find 3 different appearances in terms of the restaurant, which does make me sort of think that it is like available in all 3 Disney parks. So I know a lot of you guys might think, oh, well, why didn't we get Tony in there and stuff like that? But I think that they are actually going to be more sort of featured outside of the attraction itself. So when we do actually get it into our kingdom, I think, we'll definitely have a little bit of music sort of playing outside of the attraction with these characters. I don't think that they're going to actually appear as characters themselves. They just don't have a big enough role, in my opinion. I mean, they would be amazing characters maybe in a tower challenge later on in the future. But again, I think at this point they'd be amazing just sort of featured outside of the restaurant. Now, the other place they could appear is the parade float. Now, I Googled to see if Disney had a parade float that was specific to Lady and the Tramp. There was nothing really that came up right away or anything that was really obvious, so I don't have any particular images for that. They had some where it kind of included Lady and the Tramp, but it had like Mickey Mouse and stuff on it, and it was like, okay, well, that's not something that's totally specific to it. So I do think that the parade float could go many different ways, which I'll talk about in a minute. But that's sort of another place that I do think that, we could sort of see Lady and the Tramp eating spaghetti and stuff like that. So I think it would be really neat to kind of have them there. But the other sort of thing is, concession stands, right? So concessions, we already have a croissant stand in the kingdom. Now, again, they do serve different things, obviously, at the restaurant, but I typed in to see if there are any concessions that were specific to Lady and the Tramp, and there wasn't really anything. It was just mostly the restaurant that sort of came up. So instead of a croissant stand, which we already have in the kingdom, I was kind of thinking that maybe we'd kind of go a different direction and kind of maybe go with the Siamese cats. So maybe as like a backpack or something like that, and if not, then maybe they'd go with like a bowl of spaghetti or something like that for the actual characters. So I'll elaborate on that in a second, but since I saw some images of the food, I thought I would share that with you guys for sure. Now, the other attraction I do think they would have for permanent content, if they were to have more than one, would be the Darling's house. Now, I don't mean from the Peter Pan collection, because I know you guys might be thinking Wendy, John, and Michael Darling, but I am calling it the Darling house. It is very darling when you do look at it. So I thought it might be really, really cool if they did add that. And I think it would give the characters sort of an extra sort of place to go in order for dialogue and stuff like that. So I think both of those would be absolutely fantastic to have in the kingdom. And especially because this is one of those attractions, they could go with more of like a spring summer look, or they could go with more of a winter look, sort of depending on the direction of the storyline and stuff like that, depending on when it comes out and whatever. So I do think that they have a lot of different options if they did include the house of Lady. Yeah, so anyways, those are the 4 characters, as I said, that I do think that would be absolutely amazing. So Trusty, the Tramp, Jacques, and Lady. Those are kind of like obvious choices for permanent content for me. And as I said, in terms of concessions, I think it would be great to have like bowl of spaghetti, and maybe something to do with the Siamese cats, maybe like the basket with them in it. That would be loads and loads of fun. I think, you know, like the little kids sort of leaving the park could actually carry the basket, and you could maybe like see the eyes sort of like peering out, or they would kind of peer out a little bit and then go back in. Just give it some additional sort of animation and stuff with the game. Now, in terms of decoration, so I will go to that next. I did want to sort of say that we do have a fish fountain in the kingdom, okay? So these are similar images and stuff like that actually are in the game. So there's the fish fountain, and then there's actually like the Lady and the Tramp fountain. So it does feature the Tramp and Lady. And since the fish fountain is sort of already in the game, this is what it looks like. I did think it might leave an option for Lady and the Tramp collection to have a fountain. Might be kind of fun if they added that to the game as a decoration. Now I'm thinking it's more of a fountain than an actual gold trophy. They could have it as a gold trophy, something kind of like, you know, Captain Hook maybe, but I think this is a really great sort of representation of that. So I think it would be really, really fun to have that in the kingdom. Now, in terms of like additional decorations and stuff like that, I know that they did skip it recently with the Finding Nemo limited time event. They didn't have any decorations whatsoever with that event, so it was a little bit weird. So no matter whether it's an event or permanent content, I think the decorations are going to really, really be limited. But I do hope they do have some sort of like city lamp posts and stuff, which you do see around, obviously, Lady's house and stuff like that. So I do think that would be really cool. Maybe have a dog house, maybe even a Christmas tree, because that would kind of be a great sort of relation in between like Frozen, Christmas time, and just Lady and the Tramp. So it could be kind of fun to sort of have that as a representation. Maybe the tree could even have some like presents around it and stuff like that, because Lady technically was given as a gift at Christmas. You do see it at the very, very beginning of the film that Lady was the gift to Darling, or Elizabeth Darling. So she is the one that actually gets Lady herself. So I do think it would be really, really cool to have maybe some sort of Christmas tree in the kingdom. And you know what? It's about time we get a Christmas tree decoration, guys. Face it, Frozen didn't have one. The Nightmare Before Christmas didn't have one. Like, I can't really think of any other collection right now that's like really into Christmas, but both those collections, they do deserve a Christmas tree. Give us a Christmas tree in the kingdom. It is gonna be one of those ones. I know I would open decoration chests for sure. I would waste hundreds of gems just to get a Christmas tree. And that's saying a lot, because I'm a little bit now kind of like stingy, I guess, in terms of concessions and decorations and stuff like that, trying to get those from these specific chests they've included in the game now. So if they did include that, hands down, I would totally go crazy just to try and get a Christmas tree. And I'm sure a lot of us would come like November and stuff like that, when it's like, you know, we're turning over into Christmas. Now I know in the States, you guys have like Thanksgiving and stuff right before Christmas, but I know that, you know, in Canada, it's a little bit different. We have it like, you know, September, October, and then we go into Halloween, and then after that, it's like November 1st. We're all about Christmas. So personally, I do feel like if that Christmas tree sort of came in terms of a decoration for the update, right, for Lady and the Tramp, I think it would be amazing. Now, I would love it sooner than that, so if they do decide in the Tower Challenge in September to include a Christmas tree decoration, or concession even, I am totally down for that. Give us a hat stand, something to do with a Christmas tree. I would love it, love it, love it. I'm all about Christmas. I love Christmas. It's one of my favorite times of year, so if they give us anything to do with Christmas, I'm totally all over it. So the parade float, I do think it's gonna maybe feature the spaghetti kiss. I think it's gonna be absolutely adorable if they do that. Now the other thing is the Siamese cats could be maybe featured there as well if they're not gonna be in a concession stand or anything. The Siamese cats, I feel, need to appear somewhere. So if they do appear anywhere, like, and it's not gonna be obviously the spaghetti kiss on the parade float, then it has to be the Siamese cats. Like, really, I can't think of anything else. If it came to a limited time event, maybe we'll be tapping Siamese cats or even rats. Now, I'm not a big person on rats, to be honest. Like, anything to do with mice, rats, no. Like, I think it would actually kind of bother me seeing those kind of things, like, roaming around the kingdom would probably kind of disgust me a bit. So if it was a limited time event, I'm really hoping that we tap Siamese cats and not rats or anything like that. Because, again, super nasty. I don't really want to see any of that kind of stuff in my kingdom. I don't really care. That's just my opinion. It's just, I don't want to see any sort of, like, yeah, anyways, I've sort of said it, but I don't want to see any of that roaming around my kingdom. So I do hope that they avoid that at all costs. Now, I know that you guys might go, rats. Well, it's because when Jim Deere and Darling had a child, a little boy, there's a rat that gets into the baby's room. And that's sort of where Tramp kind of, I guess, becomes beloved by the family itself, is because it was Lady and Tramp who both actually saved the baby from the rat. So that's why I'm thinking that it is possible we could be seeing that in the kingdom, just because it is between, again, like, Halloween, like just after Halloween and then Christmas. So if they do have it as an actual like event, we might be sort of tapping those from the kingdom. But again, I'm hoping it's permanent content, so we won't have that problem. But just in case, that is sort of what I am thinking. So I think that is it in terms of my predictions for this video. Again, I am really excited though to see what they do in terms of characters for this collection. I hope they don't skip it like they did for Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins last year made sense to kind of skip over, but I think for this year, if they skip Lady and the Tramp, I would be really surprised. So it will be really exciting to kind of see Lady and the Tramp, obviously, in the kingdom and their welcome screens. And Disney Magic Kingdoms does usually an amazing job on the welcome screens, even for characters that, are kind of a little bit more on the non-eventful side of things. They usually try and give us some kind of fun animations and stuff like that. So I am very much looking forward to seeing what they are going to be giving us this fall and winter. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. If you guys have, make sure you guys give it a big magical thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, because I do a lot of Disney Magic Kingdoms game live streams on the channel. I post on Facebook and Instagram as well if you guys want to check out those. It'll be on my channel page. You will be able to sort of get connected with that as well. Now, I do post a little bit on a blog as well, but it's usually just to do with the updates and stuff right now. I usually give like patch notes and stuff like that on there. Occasionally I'll do a little bit more, but for now that's kind of all the time I have, is just to give you guys like patch notes and maybe a little bit of additional information and stuff like that. So yeah, hopefully you guys are as excited as I am for this to become content in the kingdom. So let me know in the comments below if you guys want Lady and the Tramp to be included as content in the game in 2019. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys for the next video. Bye!